Could you give us some more background about what you're seeing in e-commerce at the moment?
2/3 of humanity is online. That's 5 billion people. It's a Saturday afternoon. You're out, you're looking at your phone. Oh, all of a sudden on Instagram that you're scrolling through, an ad pops up for your favorite brand and it's 40% off for one day only. I'm going to click on the ad that popped up. That ad's going to take me to a website. It looks like the part. The products are there. That particular item that I wanted is there. I'm going to click on that product. The reality is something very, very different. The harsh reality is the site wasn't real. The ad was faked. You've clicked through to an ad that's taking you to a fake site. That fake site then has taken your details, your credit card.
Welcome back to the Security Strategist podcast, your blueprint for evolving cybersecurity. My name is Richard Steinnon, and I will be your host for this episode. I'm the Chief Research Analyst at IT Harvest, an author and a trusted advisor to vendors, VCs, and private equity firms. Today, we're joined by Lisa Deegan, who leads UK and international growth at EBRAND. Lisa has spent over 20 years working at the intersection of cybersecurity, brand protection, and digital risk, helping global brands navigate one of the fastest changing threat landscapes in the digital economy. This episode, we'll be talking about brand protection, particularly how criminals have been using Gen AI to create fake shops and scam consumers on a large scale, and what brands and individuals can do to fight back. We'll look at why industries like fashion and financial services are targeted, what makes these new scams so convincing, and how a new approach to brand protection is needed to break down the criminal networks responsible for them. Welcome to the show, Lisa. Great to have you on.
Thank you, Richard. It's a pleasure to be here. Delighted to speak about such an important subject with you today.
Absolutely. Could you tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got to where you are?
My career literally has mapped the trajectory of the internet from the very beginnings. Back in the day, I started my career off in an organization that was focused on the early stages of brand protection. So I was there when the first phishing attack happened. I was there when domains then evolved into the contented websites and became counterfeit websites, and when the phishing attacks happened. So I kind of seen the whole kind of evolution of the internet from what was a very exciting sphere for everyone to get involved in to when cyber criminals then left the high street and went online. From there, I kind of worked right across the board on brand protection, anti-counterfeiting, anti-phishing, and then I evolved into cybersecurity as well. So looking at digital risk protection and looking at the various areas that organizations need to protect their digital landscape. I took a couple of years off to take an academic hiatus. I studied psychotherapy and cyber psychology. And from there, I got a really good interest in the human interaction with technology and, the way scams were evolving. And as I kind of exited my academic hiatus, I was looking for an opportunity with a really forward-thinking organization. And I came across EBRAND. And through our conversations, I realized this company was the company to go with, who had the focus and the ideas around how to tackle this new reality. So that's kind of where I stand.
Very interesting that you would study psychology, because I think that's really pertinent when studying attackers in particular. Let's dig into the online fraud aspects. Could you give us some more background about what you're seeing in e-commerce at the moment?
Yeah. So the reality is everyone works off their phones these days. They're always attached to some form of device for good or for bad, but that's where their focus is. So if I can maybe paint a picture for you in the sense of, at the moment, 2/3 of humanity is online. That's 5 billion people. Of that 5 billion people within the EU alone, that's 92% of the population. And of that 92%, 77% are shopping online. So it's a Saturday afternoon. You're out, you're looking at your phone. Oh, all of a sudden on Instagram that you're scrolling through, an ad pops up for your favorite brand and it's 40% off for one day only. And you're thinking, oh, I wanted this product for so long. I'm just going to go through it. So I'm going to click on the ad that popped up. That ad's going to take me to a website. The website's very glossy. It looks like the part. The products are there. That particular item that I wanted is there. I say, right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to click on that product. And yes, I've got that item that I've been wanting all for a long time. The reality is something very, very different. The harsh reality is the site wasn't real. The ad was faked. And the reality is you've clicked through to an ad that's taking you to a fake site. That fake site then has taken your details, your credit card, and essentially the product that you've wanted to buy never existed in the first place. So the money that you've spent has gone off to the criminal networks. The product will never arrive. And in some cases, depending on the device, if it was a phone or if it was a laptop, not only are you being compromised on all those levels, but you're also simultaneously downloading potentially a piece of malware that will do other things nefarious on your device moving forward. It's very scary when you think about it, but then when you think about it and you take a step back, that's just one scam. The way we see it is this could have been thrown up across a load of different ads and hitting 200,000 people in one day. And that's the way things are evolving in the AI fake shop world these days.
How big is the problem really? And why are industries like fashion and financial services being targeted so heavily right now?
It started evolving, like AI as an issue with AI fraudulent websites. I suppose it all kind of started around 2015, but it really didn't develop teeth until about 2023. It's evolving now because the zeitgeist is everyone on their phones. It's easy to do things. Everyone's attached to it. And what do they do every day? Well, they're looking at Instagram. So the ads are in association with it. They're doing their online banking. So again, their phone. They're looking at, trading apps maybe. They're buying products from various different websites that they think they trust. So there's that element of, okay. It's who I normally buy from. They're being lured into a false sense of security. And from there, I suppose it's just evolving. It makes them the ideal target. Companies can't really kind of control it right now because of its scale. It's going down a road that people would never, or companies in general, brand owners in general, would never have even conceived a few years ago because of the momentum that AI is building across the board. The look and feel is quality because they're using AI to spin this up. So the AI learning that might have learned about brands or is using that to their advantage and kind of spinning up these realistic sites that look like the real thing. And it's not just ads and it's not just websites. It's across the entire spectrum. So if you can think of every single digital avenue that people engage with, that's where the problem's arising. So it's quite a cross-cultural, cross-channel issue for companies these days. One particular campaign that I'm just kind of thinking about here, we actually had a particular ad that we found for a client of ours that was duplicated 43 times within a very short period of time. Within, I think it was about 8 hours. And from that 8 hours, it did contact over 250,000 people. So the scale is there, the opportunity is there, and the sophistication is there. And that's kind of why the problem is evolving at scale right now.
If I put my marketing hat on, I'm thinking, why can't real organizations take advantage of AI to the same extent and target 200,000 people? But
they absolutely can, and I think that's my good news story for the end of the conversation. But yeah, there is definitely AI it's a double-edged sword. You can absolutely use it to your advantage, and I think at the moment, and it's very much like the evolution of the internet. There's that big debate at the very beginning saying, is it for good or is it for bad? At this moment in time, AI is a mirror, and for those who are like scaremongering around AI, the reality is, it's a mirror, and humanity is scared of its own reflection. But it can also be used to combat what's going on, and that's kind of where EBRAND would come into the fray.
Got it. Wise words. Beyond the sheer volume, what makes these fake shops and scams so convincing?
I think it's the understanding of what the client's looking for what the consumer's looking for. It's understanding how the brand users the brand owners are essentially marketing themselves. It's understanding behavioral patterns, obviously device monitoring, but it's actually looking at, I suppose, that the issues around how it's delivered. So, for example, there might be a scam, a fake AI shop that's developed, and it is, visible to someone who's deciding to shop in London or Paris. They're walking around, they're thinking, I really want to buy that bag, but that's X amount of money. oh, look, here's a brilliant shop. I'm going to buy that there. There is ways and means of these scammers that what they utilize to, I suppose, cloak their domain. So it only renders in certain devices. So, for example, what that London or Paris person is seeing on their mobile is not visible to the regulator or to the brand owner or to indeed some of the suppliers companies use to monitor online for brand issues. It also might be, a harmless splash page to those regulators. On a phone, it would be visible. It might only be visible on an iOS operating system, or it might be geo-blocked. And there's a geo-IP blocking, so it's only visible, say, in the UK, or it's only visible over in a particular region. And that's where I suppose they take advantage of getting ahead of people that are kind of track them down and trying to obviously take those sites down. But equally, the whole kind of concept behind AI is that, you take something down, it comes up again. It's constantly like a whack-a-mole, the traditional American phrase whack-a-mole. It was applied to phishing in the early days, but it's now very much a thing around AI and fake shops as well. And it's just the momentum that can happen as soon as one comes down, the next one goes back up again. So we at EBRAND, we're kind of, looking at the situation as a whole, and we're thinking, right, it's not about individual infringements, individual shops. It's about actually looking at the operation itself and taking it down at source.
Yeah. So tell us more about that. If takedowns alone aren't enough, what does the industry need to be doing?
Like I said, it's no longer about firefighting individual infringements. It's about looking at, what's consumers seeing? What are they seeing? Are the scams being cloaked? Are they being geo-blocked? The brand owners need to be aware of what it is that's happening. And in some cases, they're not getting that luxury, whereas that's where one of the areas that we focus in on as an organization. It's prioritizing what the infringement is. Like traditionally, brand abuse, counterfeiting, even phishing attacks, that all be associated with revenue bleed, essentially. But actually, the bigger situation here and the more kind of longevity, the more issues that have evolved from that is the actual trust that's getting destroyed. We have had feedback from focus groups and other companies that we've worked with that it's very obvious once a consumer has been impacted by some form of AI fraud or in association with a particular brand, their desire to want to go back and shop with that brand has basically halved, if not completely dissolved. But it's knowing the difference between the trust and the revenue bleed and what's kind of more important to you. But looking at the networks as a whole, it's making sure that you have a service in place. You can understand what's going on in terms of the kind of MO. So, it's the domain spun up. It's the ad associated with it. It's the payment channels they're using. And it's also the bad actors before that. But that's behind the whole system. And it's bringing that all together and making sure that you're taking it down, the infrastructure at source, so that it's leaving them no opportunity to rebuild again. They will rebuild again and they will keep trying. But eventually, like the olden days, they'll eventually get fed up and move on to some other soft target is what usually happens.
Yeah, that's always at least the minimum goal is get them to bother somebody else, not you.
Exactly. But we are entering into the, I suppose, the realm of autonomous AI. And I don't want to sound like an ambulance chaser, but I think we need to be adults and we need to be very aware of what that means. And it means, today criminals are kind of using AI to generate these fake sites, these fake shops. They'll spin up fake reviews in association with them. They'll have fake influencers. They'll have fake personas promoting them, marketing teams, etc. All kind of looking very kind of, I suppose, professional and sophisticated. But that's today. Like soon, with the evolution of AI, which, is rapid, as everyone knows, the bots will start registering the domains. They'll be the ones, optimizing the campaigns. They'll be the ones respawning the sites in real time. There won't be a human involved. And that's kind of scary because, yes, when you enter into that realm, if you're not at the forefront of what you need to do in order to protect your brand and your consumers, you may get left behind because of the pace of evolution of this problem. So For brands in general to survive this, they need to embed monitoring with intelligence and a rapid enforcement. That's the way it needs to be. So
makes sense. So if I'm a CISO or head of brand protection listening to this, what's the one message you'd want me to take away?
If you're a CISO, I would say, traditionally CISOs look at, I suppose, their security landscape. They care about their attack surface, these kind of fraudulent activities, these AI fake shops, they're impacting your attack surface. They're stealing customer data and it's a security issue. So you should have a dog in this fight. For heads of brand protection, I think it's really important to realize that it's not about finding a site and taking it down. That was the traditional method. It was maybe taking down bulk listings on marketplaces or maybe looking at, copycat websites, maybe the odd ad, whatever it takes. And that's more kind of shooting in lots of different directions and achieving not very much, not in the age of autonomous AI. So it's making sure that you realize that you need a system in place that's actually going to dismantle the actual network that's attacking your brand and continuously monitoring to make sure that doesn't happen again. So to be fair, if I look at this, traditionally you would have thought CISOs and you would have maybe thought head of brands, but actually there are other kind of people within an organization that have a dog in this fight. Essentially, everybody should have a dog in this fight because it impacts so many different avenues within an organization. But equally, chief digital officers, their focus is on maintaining really crisp channels for their client base. This is another channel. It mightn't be owned by you, but it is actually exploiting what's going on in your overall organization. And then chief legal officers, often is the case, they're the ones putting together the evidence packs and taking legal action against perpetrators. They need depth of investigation. They need other kind of supporting technology that will help them really drill into the issue and take the appropriate action legally. But there is one other persona that actually transcends everybody here. And obviously it's the general public. It's me and you. Everybody loves a good bargain. Everybody loves an opportunity to get something they wanted or desired at a cheaper rate. But, if you see something and you think it's too good to be true, it probably is. So think before you click.
I have to worry about that every time I go search for a 2026 Chevy Avalanche. The Chevy Avalanche, massive truck. You wouldn't ever see one in the UK, but it was super popular and it was discontinued in 2009. And yet, if you search on 2026, you will find review sites, YouTube videos reviewing it with all sorts of great images and stuff. And it just builds up this perception that you can click here and order one or something. I don't know what they intend to get out of me, but
they're probably going to sell you a picture of it. That's probably what people have fallen for that in the past. They paid a lot of money for a picture of a Rolex. So yeah.
So good. Any last thoughts?
I suppose one of the things that I find really interesting is the psychology behind it all, obviously having done psychotherapy and cyber psychology. And I think that's one of the things that brand owners should probably consider when they're considering, fighting these online criminals. It is about maybe educating the client on, what your space looks like, where they can find you in a legitimate fashion, in the official fashion. So obviously having a good digital hygiene plan in place, making sure there isn't kind of countless other websites or profiles that are impersonating you, kind of getting that digital estate really tight. But yeah, and making sure that you do a good consumer education program as well, because it's not just about the scam. It's also potential harm to life. There's also, I talked about bags and I talked about, phishing, which is obviously money related, but there's a whole load of other areas that are more, I suppose, critical to life. And that's obviously counterfeit drugs, counterfeit toys, like some of the toys that are in the media at the moment that are being counterfeited. There's obviously the massive counterfeit food areas that are, being pulled in, like Europol last year. They pulled in, I think it was 91 million's worth of counterfeit and substandard food. And of that, there was 850,000 litres of alcohol that was Yeah. So like it's a whole trade, and it's been there for quite some time, about 20 years now. But AI is just, it's spearheading it. It's kind of pushing it forward, and the whole democratization of crime online means, anybody can set up an AI fake shop, or basically spin up a very funky and sophisticated looking brand website with deep fakes, and impact the whole thing, impact their brand abuse, their brand issues exponentially.
So how can listeners engage with eBrand?
So eBrand is an organization. We're European headquartered, based out of Luxembourg. We provide brand protection services and digital risk protection services. We have built a smart, holistic framework that is designed to support this new reality. So we have AI-powered detection. We do intel scoring. We have automation around takedowns. We provide online, offline investigations into what's occurring with your brand. We also have a big legal and cyber operations team, so very focused on the individual issues, depending on what they are. And we also do actor profiling and network mapping, so we can get a sense of where these operations are kind of happening, and really dismantling them at source. Specifically, we have a platform called Argos, and it's very much advanced algorithms. We provide real-time alerts, and we do fast-track takedown. So it minimizes the window of opportunity for scammers and fraudsters out there. One specific area we focus in on is we have what we call deep vision AI. And that is optical character recognition. So it reads embedded text within images. It spots logos that have been removed, and provides like details around subtle cues that might indicate a fraud website. We do context aware AI. So we have the ability to recognize product features without relying on metadata. We provide image matching technology as well. So you can upload images even when they're visually kind of impaired or kind of, changed. We also do multilingual visual first global search. So we're looking at images. We kind of transcend the whole need for language monitoring. So we're looking at images across the global spectrum and finding issues in association with that. And one of the other areas that we have a big focus on, TikTok Shop. Obviously, it's been around for a while. It is the leading platform, if you like, of the day that is kind of producing so many counterfeits and deep fakes and shops, and you name it, it's producing it. It is the place du jour because of the fast popularity of TikTok as a whole. So we have developed a social commerce focused team, and their focus is just looking for these kind of fraudulent activities on that particular platform. So it's essentially where eBrand, our brand protection focused meets AI. In terms of, working with us, we work with a whole host of sectors. We've been working with companies from back in 2006 onwards. We can support an entire organization across domains, digital risk, and online brand protection. So if you've got a bank that needs protection around any of the issues on phishing and impersonation and executive protection and what have you, we can do that. But equally, if you've got a product or a service that you want to sell online, we can also support you with that. So there's a whole spectrum of areas that we can work with you on. We would like to offer brand owners a no strings monitor. We can audit your brand to get a sense of how exposed it is out there. And we will then schedule a 45-minute session with you so that we can look through what we found. And if we found something that really interesting that you'd like to dig deeper into, then we can do an offline, online investigation so we can give you a flavor of the exposure you have and what we can do to support you there.
Fantastic, Lisa. Thanks for this glimpse into the, front lines of brand protection wars. Also, thank you to everyone listening. We hope you took a lot away from today's podcast. For further information on modern brand protection, please head over to ebrand.com. We'll be back next week with another episode in our podcast series. Until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all the major platforms and follow the conversation on our socials at EM360 Tech on Twitter and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, head over to em360tech.com.